Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining this session on FDA QMSR inspections in 2026. Today, we are focusing on early Form 483 observations and the practical readiness steps medical device companies should consider under the Quality Management System Regulation, or QMSR. This session is designed for quality assurance, regulatory affairs, supplier quality, CAPA owners, complaint handling teams, UDI and labeling teams, and manufacturing quality professionals. The goal is practical. We are not only reviewing a regulatory change, we are looking at how quality systems may be tested during real inspections, and how teams can prepare before an investigator arrives. This program is for regulatory education and quality system planning. It is not legal advice, and it should not be used as a substitute for counsel or qualified inspection response support. This topic matters now because QMSR is no longer something companies are simply preparing for in the future. It is already in effect and is being tested through real FDA inspections. The Quality Management System Regulation became effective on February 2, 2026. It aligns FDA medical device quality system requirements with ISO 13485:2016. Early QMSR inspections are already generating Form 483 observations. The early reported themes discussed in this program should be treated as inspection signals, not as a complete FDA statistical report. From a practical standpoint, the key point is this. Companies should be prepared to show that their quality system works in daily operations, not just that procedures exist in a binder or electronic system. Let us start with a shift from the old Quality System Regulation, commonly called QSR, to the new QMSR. The old QSR was FDA specific and sat under 21 CFR Part 820. Under QMSR, Part 820 is now aligned with the structure and expectations of ISO 13485:2016. The biggest practical shift is from separate quality processes to a more connected, risk-based system. In many organizations, risk management used to sit mainly inside design files. Supplier controls, complaint handling, CAPA, internal audits, and management review could feel like separate quality activities. Under QMSR, companies should be ready to show how these processes connect. For example, a complaint trend may lead to a risk file review. A supplier issue may trigger CAPA. An internal audit finding may need management review follow-up. Another important change is visibility of certain records. Internal audit records, supplier audit records, and management review records previously had stronger inspection protection. Under QMSR, companies should be prepared for the possibility that FDA may review these records during an inspection. So the main point for this slide is that QMSR is not just a paperwork update. It is a system behavior update. Before discussing the observation themes, it is helpful to define Form 483 in simple terms. A Form 483 lists potential compliance concerns that FDA investigators observe during an inspection. It is issued when investigators see conditions that may violate FDA requirements. A Form 483 is not the final enforcement outcome. However, it is a serious inspection signal, and the company response matters. A weak or incomplete response can increase the risk of escalation. Depending on the situation, that escalation may include warning letters, delayed approvals, import issues, reputational damage, or operational disruption. The inspection flow usually works like this. First, FDA conducts the inspection. Then, investigators identify observations. The company prepares its Form 483 response. Corrective actions are developed and implemented. After that, FDA may follow up depending on the seriousness of the issue and the quality of the response. The practical message for teams is that a Form 483 is not only a regulatory document. It is a moment where the company must show it understands the issue, has identified the root cause, and is taking meaningful corrective action. The first theme is risk management. Risk is expected across the full quality management system, not only inside design control documentation. The second theme is outsourcing and purchasing. Supplier control should be risk-based, documented, and actively monitored. The third theme is complaint handling and feedback. Complaints should feed into risk review, MDR decisions, and CAPA decisions. MDR means medical device reporting, which is the process used to evaluate whether certain device problems must be reported to FDA. The fourth theme is UDI and traceability. UDI, or Unique Device Identifier, should support complaint investigations and recall readiness. The fifth theme is corrective action. CAPA should address root causes, not only visible symptoms. The sixth theme is internal audits and management review. Companies should be prepared for the possibility that these records may be reviewed, and the record should be accurate, factual, and supported by evidence. Risk management is the central theme of QMSR, inspection readiness. In practical terms, risk management means asking, what can go wrong, how serious could the harm be, and what is the company doing to reduce or control that risk? Under QMSR, risk should not stay locked inside the design file. Risk should be visible across complaints, suppliers, CAPA, manufacturing, internal audits, and management review. Consider a company that manufactures a blood glucose monitor. Customers report that the device sometimes gives incorrect readings. A weak response would be to replace the device and close the complaint without connecting the issue to the broader quality system. A stronger QMSR-ready response would investigate whether the incorrect reading could create patient risk. The company would check whether similar complaints are increasing. It would review whether the risk file needs to be updated. It would check whether supplier parts or manufacturing variation contributed to the problem. It would open CAPA if the issue shows a recurring or systemic weakness. It would also evaluate whether FDA reporting is required. From an inspection readiness perspective, the question is not simply whether a risk file exists. The question is whether the risk process is alive and being used when real product problems appear. The second topic is outsourcing and purchasing controls. Many medical device companies rely on outside parties for components, packaging, testing, software, sterilization, or even manufacturing. That is normal in the industry, but the legal manufacturer still remains responsible for quality oversight. A helpful way to say it is this: the company may outsource work, but it cannot outsource responsibility. Supplier qualification should be risk-based. Quality agreements should clearly define responsibilities, acceptance requirements, and change notification expectations. Supplier performance should be monitored and trended. Critical suppliers may need audits, scorecards, and supplier CAPA follow-up. For example, imagine a company sells sterile surgical kits, but sterilization is performed by an outside vendor. If sterilization fails, the company cannot rely only on the explanation that the vendor made the mistake. During inspection, investigators may ask whether the vendor was properly approved, whether the vendor was audited, whether sterilization performance was monitored, and whether the quality agreement clearly assigned responsibilities. They may also look for whether the company reassessed supplier risk after the failure. A strong supplier file should clearly show why the supplier was approved, what risk level was assigned, how performance is monitored, and how the company responds when supplier performance changes. The third topic is complaint handling and feedback. For medical devices, a complaint is not just a customer service note. It is regulatory data and post-market quality feedback. A weak complaint file might say, quote, customer complained, replacement sent, end quote. That type of record may show customer follow-up, but it does not show investigation, risk review, MDR evaluation, trend review, or CAPA logic. A stronger complaint file documents what happened, whether there was patient impact, whether the device was returned or tested, what MDR decision was made, whether similar complaints exist, whether the risk file was reviewed, and whether CAPA was needed. Let us use the example of a hospital reporting that an infusion pump stopped during patient use. A QMSR ready complaint process would evaluate whether there was a device malfunction, whether a patient was harmed, whether the issue is repeating, whether FDA reporting is required, whether the risk assessment should change, and whether corrective action is needed. For complaint teams and regulatory teams, the practical point is that the file should tell the story clearly. It should show what was reported, how the company evaluated the issue, what decision was made, and why that decision was reasonable. The fourth topic is UDI and traceability. UDI means Unique Device Identifier. In simple terms, it works like an identity number for a medical device. UDI helps connect devices, batches, complaint records, investigations, distribution history, and recall scope. When UDI data is complete and connected, the company can move faster during complaint investigations and field actions. When UDI data is missing or disconnected, investigations can slow down and patient safety decisions can become harder. For example, suppose a company receives complaints tied to one batch of knee implants. With strong UDI records, the company can identify the affected batch, determine which hospitals received the product, support patient-level traceability where applicable, and define the scope of any recall or field action. With weak UDI records, the company may struggle to identify which devices are affected. That creates both regulatory risk and patient safety risk. The inspection readiness point is that UDI should not be treated only as a labeling task. It should support complaint handling, traceability, recall readiness, and patient safety. The fifth topic is corrective action, or CAPA. CAPA should fix the real cause of a problem, not only the immediate symptom. Consider a sterile device package that opens during shipping. A weak action would be to change the package for that shipment and stop there. That may address the immediate shipment, but it does not show why the failure occurred or whether the same issue could happen again. A stronger corrective action would define the problem clearly. The company would investigate root cause, check whether packaging material failed, review whether a supplier made changes, evaluate whether shipping validation was adequate, determine whether other products are affected, assess product risk and patient impact, and verify whether the corrective action works. After the fix, the company should trend the issue to confirm it does not repeat. For CAPA owners, the important point is connection. CAPA should connect to complaints, supplier performance, risk management, and effectiveness checks. If those links are missing, the CAPA may look like a temporary patch rather than a system-level correction. The sixth topic is internal audits and management review. This is one of the more important inspection changes under QMSR because it affects the visibility of internal quality records. Before QMSR, internal quality audit records, supplier audit records, and management review records had stronger protection from routine FDA review. Under QMSR, companies should be prepared for the possibility that FDA may review internal audit reports, supplier audit reports, and management review records during an inspection. This does not mean companies should hide problems or make internal audits less useful. That would create greater risk. What it does mean is that audit findings should be written accurately, factually, and with proper context. For example, poor wording would be, quote, "The complaint system is a disaster," end quote. That statement is broad, emotional, and unsupported. A better version would be, quote, "3 complaint files did not include documented MDR evaluation. CPA was opened to assess the process gap and retrain staff," end quote. That second version is more inspection ready because it is specific, evidence-based, and shows follow-up action. The practical takeaway is simple. Do not hide problems. Now let us talk about culture of quality. A strong quality culture means quality is built into daily work. It is not something checked only at the end of the process, and it is not only the responsibility of the QA department. A weak culture might look like this. A production employee sees a possible defect and thinks, "That is not my job." A stronger culture looks different. The employee reports the concern early. The team investigates. Leadership supports corrective action. The company treats the issue as a signal to prevent a bigger problem later. During inspection, FDA investigators may look for evidence that quality issues are identified, escalated, reviewed by management, and closed effectively. That is why companies should train teams to report quality concerns early, use management review to discuss meaningful quality signals, make audit findings specific and actionable, and avoid a QA-only mindset. The best quality systems make quality visible across manufacturing, regulatory affairs, supplier quality, complaint handling, CAPA, design, and leadership. This slide is a practical warning list for quality and regulatory teams. The first common mistake is failing to update risk files after complaints or CAPAs. If a complaint or CAPA reveals new information about product risk, the risk file should be reviewed and updated when appropriate. The second mistake is supplier files missing risk ratings or monitoring evidence. A supplier file should show not only that the supplier was approved, but why the supplier was approved and how the supplier is monitored. The third mistake is complaint files missing NDR evaluation or investigation rationale. If a complaint is investigated, the file should show the logic. If a complaint is not investigated, the rationale should also be documented. The fourth mistake is UDI not being captured in complaint or production records. Missing UDI data weakens traceability and can slow investigations. The fifth mistake is closing CAPA without a strong root cause or effectiveness check. A CAPA should show that the actual cause was addressed and that the fix worked. The sixth mistake is writing internal audit findings vaguely or emotionally. Audit findings should be specific, factual, evidence-based, and connected to follow-up action. These documentation mistakes can make a company look unprepared even when procedures exist. The goal is to make the record clear enough that another qualified reviewer can understand what happened, what decision was made, and why. Now, let us convert the observation themes into clear responsibilities for different teams. For QA and quality systems teams, the focus should be QMS procedures, the internal audit process, management review inputs, and links to risk management. QA should be able to show that the quality system is connected and functioning. For regulatory affairs, the focus should be MDR evaluation, reporting decision records, and regulatory links inside complaint files. Regulatory teams should make sure reporting decisions are documented clearly and consistently. For supplier quality, the focus should be supplier risk files, supplier agreements, audit plans, and performance monitoring. Supplier quality should be able to explain how suppliers are qualified, monitored, and escalated when needed. For complaint handling teams, the focus should be complaint intake, investigation rationale, UDI capture, trend review, and escalation. Complaint records should show regulatory evaluation, not only customer follow-up. For CAPA owners, the focus should be root cause analysis, risk linkage, corrective action plans, and effectiveness checks. CAPA records should show that the company fixed the cause, not just the symptom. For leadership, the focus should be management review, quality culture, resource decisions, and system-level follow-up. Management review should show that leaders are seeing the right quality signals and supporting appropriate action. The broader message is that QMSR readiness is cross-functional. It is not owned by one team. It depends on QA, regulatory, supplier quality, complaint handling, CAPA, manufacturing, and leadership working together. First, are risk files updated after complaints and CAPAs? Second, are supplier risks documented and current? Third, are supplier agreements and audits current? Fourth, are complaint files complete and easy to defend? Fifth, is MDR evaluation documented? Sixth, is UDI captured in complaint and production records? Seventh, do CAPAs show real root cause? Eighth, are effectiveness checks meaningful? Ninth, are internal audit reports factual and clear? 10th, are management review records inspection ready? These questions help teams move from general awareness to practical readiness. The final takeaway is that companies should be prepared to show that risk, suppliers, complaints, UDI, CAPA, and audits are connected and working in real life. QMSR is not just about having a quality system. It is about proving that the quality system is effective.